you made me cry. So don't come back. Oh, you never took the time to say. You didn't think you should explain. Like I don't care, you're kidding me. Don't do that. Oh, I don't tell anybody, no. That I'm feeling so miserable. All my friends tell me to be strong. If they're right, why does it feel so wrong? Just because you hurt doesn't mean my heart don't want you. Footprints in the dirt, following your every move. I tried to be the best for you. When you broke my heart in two. Oh, saying you didn't know, but I know you do. It's a fact. Oh, I don't tell anybody, no. That I'm feeling so miserable. All my friends tell me to be strong. If they're right, why does it feel so wrong? Just because you hurt doesn't mean my heart don't want you. Footprints in the dirt, following your every move. Just because you hurt doesn't mean my heart don't want you. Footprints in the dirt, following your every move, even though it hurts. Hey baby, do you believe me when I say I miss you so? It seems like your mind is elsewhere. Whenever we're on the phone, always on the go. Like you got a place to be, never on your own. Something you're not telling me, yeah. I believe it's true. You're all for someone new. I've never felt this stupid thinking I'm enough for you. Tell me, is she cute? Is she my substitute? I've never felt so certain that I've had enough for you. Hey cheetah, do you feel better now that you've broken my trust? Oh, boy, do you even remember that love is more than just lust? Always on the go, like you got a place to be, never on your own. Something you're not telling me, yeah. I believe it's true. You're all for someone new. I've never felt this stupid thinking I'm enough for you. Tell me, is she cute? Is she my substitute? I've never felt so certain that I've had enough for you. I've had enough of you. You're just too much. I'm way too good for you. You're just a bluff. I'm so fed up with you. It's bad enough that I'm way too good for you. I believe it's true. You're all for someone new. I've never felt this stupid thinking I'm enough for you. attitude. I've never felt so certain that I've had enough for you.
Shout out to the CIA. One love to the FBI. What's going on? What's going on? We're back. Get them up. In the chat room. Age, city, gender, Let's get it. Come on. Shout out to Big Shirley.
It's not a problem. No.
Come on.
'Cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes. Yeah.
Woo!
Nothing can stop me. No.
'Cause I'm addicted to
you.
make 'em mad.
Realize
Make 'em mad.
the way
Ah!
I follow. No need to say.
It burns!
You're heading
Oh, it burns!
Da 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 da. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. How's everybody doing? Shout out to the CIA. One love to the FBI. Feminine, beautiful, inspirational ladies. Oh, yeah, I know. I know. It's colder than a mug outside. What has been going on? What has been going on? What has been going on? What is going on with YouTube Studio? So, let me get this going. YouTube Studio having a little issue right there. Let's click that off. Let's do that. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope wherever you are safe, you are warm. Wherever you are, hopefully you are safe. You are warm, you are comfortable, because we're going to get into it this evening. How many of you guys have seen my video on it's always the men's fault in this society? How many of you guys have seen that video? That video by itself was one of my favorite videos. Why? Because in that video, it highlighted what I think is one of the bigger issues that a lot of guys are dealing with today. A lot of guys are dealing with the issue of you're never right. It's always your fault, guys. You might as well get used to it. You're never right. Even when you're wrong, you're right. I mean, that's just what it is. But where are my manners? Candle of the evening. Because it's so cold outside. Cedra 11. And fragrance of the evening is Hypnotizing Fire. Love that one. Love that one. All right. So here we go. Somebody in the chat room said, all I hear is men blaming women. Well, you know what? A big part of what you hear comes to do with your perspective. Because if all you hear is men blaming women, I'm asking, what have you been listening to for the last 50 years? For the last 50 years, we have had to hear how men ain't crap, how you're dominated, you're this, you're that. Nothing is ever good enough. You've had an incessant parade of scrubs, bills, ain't nothing going on but the rent. And I will say this as a man. A lot of women are upset because so many guys today are finally stopping to take a little inventory. How about that? A little inventory into what's going on. And why is that important? Because as we get this continual march towards, all right, since men don't know what the hell they're doing, men are all dumb, toxic masculinity, patriarchy, whatever else. All right, men are saying this for the most part. All right, since we suck, you do it. And this is where the backlash comes in. It's like, well, wait a minute. We didn't really expect for you guys to just say, fine, treat us as equals. Because let's be honest. I said it on Clubhouse that one night that in our community, in the black community, we are used to one-way aggression. We are used to the dialogue going one way. And so much so that you can have a woman come in and actually say what she just said, that all you hear is men talking about women. Well, tell me, where are the massive platforms and publications run by men for men that are talking about women? If anything, you may just see a YouTube channel, a creator here and there, but most people don't say anything because they know we live in a cancel culture. And to say anything other than you're a queen, boss, diva, the goddess of the universe, means your death. Not me. I've been saying the same thing since college. And we're at a place now to where more women are finally starting to say, you know what? Maybe the information I've been given is not completely right. Maybe I need to hear a different side because at the end of the day, I'm not getting what I want. I'm more educated, earning more, better jobs, all these other things. But at the end of the day, I'm still not getting the outcomes I want. Well, why is that? When the New Yorker dropped that magazine cover, about the woman online with a plow, some pearls on, holding a glass of wine, but then her environment being chaotic. Men have always realized that if it's going to be better for men, men are going to have to do the heavy lifting, the hard work. Nobody cares about how men feel. And if you get knocked down, so what? We will step over a homeless man to pick up a puppy. And men accept that. Men accept that the world is a harsh place. Men accept that the world is a harsh place. No one's going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So men say, fine, if I'm going to have anything in this world, regardless as to where I started out, I am going to have to do something with it. Now, there are several groups of men. There's some group of the men who will just resign themselves to their fate. And I'm not going to judge those guys. Never have. Some folks just are cool with the status quo. There are some guys who will complain about it and never do anything in a practical sense. Then there are guys who will, whether they complain or not, they'll do something about it. So it's not a complaint if you're doing something about it. Why am I bringing all this up? Because that interview I had with, and I thought she was a really attractive woman. She was my type. The woman that we were going back and forth with in this society, I didn't sense any malice in her. I didn't sense anything other than she truly believed that men and women are, well, let's listen to it. Let's listen to a bit of it before we get into the next part. Men and women are equals. We are equals. There's really no difference between a man and a woman. So you can just substitute guy A for woman B.
I cannot say what's wrong
on, bro. Nope, that's not it. Let's do this. Sorry, guys. Build an airplane while we're flying it. Let's get the likes up, people. Make sure we keep the likes up. We should be over 4,000 likes right now. So let's get them up so we don't have to hear this song. Now, for people who are wondering why your chat message isn't coming up, because we're on members only chat tonight. Intermission song. We don't have the lights up, the show goes down. See, I will say one thing I've learned exceptionally well from Black women, especially in media. Don't let anybody make you feel guilty about wanting to be successful. Don't let anybody make you feel guilty about where you come from, what you had to do, because at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide to do your work. Let's get into it. Mean to you?
Honestly, I wouldn't even describe myself as a feminist. I use the word because you used it to describe me. And it is, I tend to lean towards those things. So to define feminism for me is irrelevant. But what I will say is that
Feminism,
in terms of what I feel in terms of how I feel I am as a woman, I feel like women and men are both human beings. We just tend to be different genders. We have different essences. We are very much yin and yang in the natural sense. But because we live in a society where we've evolved mentally.
All right. Again, no disrespect to the interviewee. I think that was a good back and forth, and it showed different ideals, different points of view. But at the end of the day, one simply is not working. One is not working. And you don't have to like me. You don't have to, you could think I'm at the worst things since Satan. Not going to change the fact that one thing is not working. And this whole men and women are equal. There's no difference. We're just human beings, and this essence transfer and this spirituality stuff, that is only available in what I call, I'll just get to the one part. That's a nice theoretical notion. They tend to decline because the first thing that falls apart is the fundamental building block of a society, which is family. We control access. Who pursues in a relationship? Men or women?
Well, in American society, men do.
Around American society, worldwide.
Pretty much, men do. There are certain.
Okay, ma'am. In the animal kingdom. So this is where this feminist stuff starts to fall apart, because you can only be feminist in a first world country. You can only be feminist in a first world country. What that means is, in a first world country, there is plenty. There is excess. Meaning, in a first world country, the poor people are skinny, and the rich people are thin. The poor people are fat. That's a first world country. Men have produced and evolved enough and done so much. We have made this country, this world, so good that honestly, women don't get how much they don't have to do to make this world run the way it is. So when men start asking for even just a fair deal, I don't think most men are asking for anything other than a fair deal. It is offensive to many women. How dare you make any demands upon us? Because we are your equal. And the only reason why most of us are behind is because you and your kind have been oppressing us since time immemorial. Well, if you go to a country to where it's second world, third world, you don't see feminism like this or womanism, these concepts, because it's about survival. And there they understand that you need the group. This is actually to a point to where in our society, we become victims of your own success. Batman. You either live long enough, what is it? You either die the hero or you live long enough to become the victim, become the villain. You die early and be the hero, or you live long enough to become the villain. The Dark Knight. Don't cap. Don't cap. Don't cap. Don't cap. Stay on task. Because this is important. They don't want us to have these conversations because if men and women start to see one another as necessary, that's going to put a lot of people out of work. That's going to put a lot of books and conferences and all this other kind of stuff out of business. People selling men and women victim narratives, oppression narratives, all these things to where men and women are continually warring with one another makes good, interesting fodder, but it doesn't progress anything. And I talk to too many men, too many women, certainly far too many women who, when they're honest with you, are telling you they're not happy. They're not happy with where they are, what their prospects are. And a big part of it is because so many women have been told you and a man are on the same level. You're same equal. You're just different essences. And they know that's not true. Why is this relevant today? Well, for several reasons. But today we're going to talk about something that I feel like needs to be highlighted a little bit more. Because, ladies, you got to ask about a person's motivation for telling you that you and
the Army is considered
that you and a man are at the same level when they themselves, like when I talked about the Cosmopolitan magazine with Susan Venker, shout out to Susan Venker, and she interviewed with Sue Ellen Browder, and that woman said for years they sold women a fantasy, a lie. Why? Because it was to sell women products. It was to sell women makeup, clothing, anything a single gal would need. But the people who were selling these notions were married people. The owner of the magazine married for 50 plus years. The writer married for 40 plus years. Okay? Why is this important? Because when you tell folks that they're all equal, there's no difference between them, where does this stop? Where does this stop? It goes on and on and on and on till when you make an appetite, you have to continue to feed it. To now where women today are saying they don't need any men. We don't need men. Men are irrelevant. The future is female. You hear women talking about aborting male children and that men are the reason that there's war and strife in the world that men built. But then when it comes right down to it, when they are given an opportunity to put their money where their mouth is, what ends up happening? Reality ends up sending a cruel lesson. Fair use. This is from Louder with Crowder.
Changing its fitness test to account for biological differences between men and women.
No. Really?
Okay,
really?
Now, a spokesman for the Army said the ACFT is already strengthening our fitness culture, reducing injuries, increasing Army readiness. We are losing tune. And he said the Army's physical readiness program and physical fitness tests must evolve to reduce injuries. Well, that's good. And empower soldiers' ability to perform those basic shoulder tasks on an age and gender neutral battlefield. No.
An age and gender neutral battlefields. Ladies, understand something. In a war, they don't care about your age or your gender. You're either on our side or their side. And by trying to make the military the thing that defends our nation's borders, first concern of any nation is security. Like the conversation I had with that young lady, you may be able to get something, but if you cannot keep it, it's pointless. First concern of any nation is security. What army, what warring or invading potential power is going to fear an army that's age and gender neutral?
Everything was fine until that last part. I don't want my here's the thing. When we're talking about the battlefield, and I'm speaking about my concerns in dealing with terrorists or Nazis or communists, gender neutrality or not being ageist is, I would argue, probably the least concerning for me. When did we decide that for some reason the Army has to be a representation of all demographics? I don't want the housewife who decided she was bored with life to go into the Army. I want a leatherneck, tobacco-chewing redneck who would be out with that gun shooting a deer anyway, only replaced his .30-06 with an M16 in his hand.
And I gotta be honest, man. Come on. Hey, man, stop posting that message in the chat room. I'm gonna block you. I removed it once. Okay, just because you're in here as a member doesn't mean you get to spam the chat. I saw it. Okay, thank you. Please don't do that. Guys, if I see you guys posting the same messages, all right, well, I'll tell you what. Don't make me block you, man. Being a moderator, being in the chat room, a member doesn't just give you opportunity to come in and say what you want. The rules are the same. So, right now, the world, they're rolling outages in Oklahoma. Talk to my family. In Oklahoma, they're rolling outages. My mother and her husband, they're sitting up there with no power because they're doing rolling outages. My daughter's sitting up at school. Look, in Texas, it's jacked up. In Houston, it's jacked up. And the thing is, when you're by yourself, this is when women start to realize how much they need men. How much you need men? Well, because you can only say these gender neutral things in a state of plenty and no conflict. But what did the bug that came along and showed? When there's no food on the shelves, when the society is not running, when there are no Ubers, no this, no that, your vulnerability as a woman is put on front and center. Okay? Men are more equipped to deal with this because just our biology. And there used to be a time where women wouldn't argue with this, but so many women have been brainwashed, or not even say brainwashed, told that they are equal to men, to where the sad part is women like that woman I talked to. Do you want to be married? Don't know. Maybe one day in this societal marital construct. Do you want to have kids? Don't know. The societal marital construct. All right. How do you build anything stable with the structure that's fluid? And the thing is, we told folks they don't need one another. And that's the way we end up acting in our interactions. We act like we don't need one another. We're quick to go to war with each other. We're quick to get rid of each other. We're quick to terminate each other. And if things don't go the way we think it should go, how many times you've heard women and men, women in particular in the last 6 months talk about, I had a good guy. I didn't like his shoelaces, so I left him. And then you end up spending time looking for other situations that fit. Ladies, the reality is this. We are not equals. And trying to make a world, to right fit a world, to fit womanist notions, makes you vulnerable.
And you give them a free license to kill terrorists. That's who I want. Also, they should be able to do pull-ups. If you can't do pull-ups, you don't make it on the battlefield.
Yeah, if you read the article about this test, there's 65% of women failed it versus 10% of men, right? So it was a huge difference. By the way, there is no difference biologically between men and women. I want to make sure that that's clear and YouTube understands that.
That's right. 65% of women failed this test, 10% of men. And he's right. Biologically, there's little difference between male and female in certain regards. Like mental ability. There's really no marked difference between men and women. How we use our intelligence is different. But physiologically, there is a big difference between us. And how it presents itself in society matters. Think about it. We have more women today who are more upset angry and hostile than I've ever been able to see in history. Why? Why? What happens when expectation doesn't meet reality? Frustration tends to happen.
Here was the one that got them. It was called the leg tuck, where they had to hang from the bar and pull their knees up to their chin. They would fail that. If they couldn't do that, what they said is you have to, a 2-minute plank will suffice.
What?
A 2-minute plank?
Our Army
All of us could do it
military
now.
fitness test shouldn't be the equivalent to an Instagram yoga ass model. It should be as unpleasant as humanly possible.
Yes.
Granted. Thank you. How many saw the movie with Demi Moore called G.I. Jane, where she was going to be a Navy SEAL? And the whole premise of that movie was that she had to do the trials and challenges just like a man, because the enemy was not, hey man, stop typing in all caps. Power may go out, things may happen, shit happens. Question is, people, when there's conflict pushed between men and women, when there are things that are put between men and women that even two people sitting down logically having a discussion says this doesn't make any sense, even if it's objectively possible. The question comes down to an old philosophical term, cui bono, who benefits? Anytime conflict is pushed forward, you got to ask, why is it being pushed forward? Someone is benefiting from this conflict. How many women are really trying to push in this society? How many women are actually trying to push to be on frontline, active duty, tip of the spear? How many women are trying to do that? How many women are really trying to push to do the dangerous jobs in this country? Well, no, we will let a vocal minority dominate the conversation. Why? Who benefits? Who benefits from this? Well, who benefits from a gender and age neutral military? I personally agree with Mr. Crowder. Do you want to see a bunch of 50-year-old soldiers? I don't. And I'm over 50. That's a young man's game. I don't want to see a bunch of women out on a battlefield either. Not because they can't fire a gun, because what happens when men go into war, they go into train, if the man to the right or to the left of you falls, they feel bad, but they have to keep moving on. They may not leave a man behind, but they go to complete the mission. They have so many psychological studies on what happens when a woman doesn't even die, when she is injured. It damages the readiness of the rest of the group because it is a man's natural nature to want to go. So if you are a wise military, you would just look for the female, shoot her in the ankle or the leg, maim her, wound her, and then wait for the men to go back and then blow them all up. Do something to them. We know these things, but we're still trying to act as if it doesn't matter. Why? Because it's always men's fault. Guys, understand something. It's always your fault. It's always your fault. Even when you're right, you're wrong. It's always your fault. That's the only way the world can work with some of these folks' mindset. It always has to be your fault. In general, as a man, and I got to say something, as a black man, it's even more so. As a black man, it is always your fault, even when it ain't your fault. If you can't walk on water, it's a problem with you. More on that another time. So, ladies, the question really becomes, do you really want a world that's gender neutral? Do you really want to live in a world to where you are treated as a 100% equal? No difference. What portion of the 51% of the population that's female are you going to be a part of the massive amounts of women who are choosing to be firefighters? There was Bill Burr? I think credit goes to Bill Burr. There are no feminists in house fires. And see, I am fine with the concept of feminism as it originally was intended, meaning women's choice. If a woman wanted to be a housewife, that's fine. If she wanted to be an astronaut, that's fine. Both of those choices were free, or she was free to make both of those choices and pursue both of those choices. If she could obtain housewife more readily than she could obtain astronaut, that's just the market deciding. I don't believe in equality of outcomes. I believe in equality of opportunity. And see, in a world that's equal, it's equal everywhere. It's equal it's equal in companies. It's equal up the corporate chain. It's also equal down the chain. It's equal in the legal system, in the family court, in criminal court, and civil court. It's equal in the military. It's equal everywhere. You look at the sentence disparities between men and women who commit the same kind of crimes, and women are get far lighter sentences. I am all for making it across the board equal. Similar punishment, similar penalties. But I honestly don't think that women want to do that for the most part. And see, why is this important? For the women who don't want this thing to be equal across the board, you need to start saying something. Because there are far too many people speaking for you saying that you want something that you don't want. Because they want it. Let's get it. The original deflection is feminism. No. Well, yeah, because it could always be pushed off on a notion. It could always be pushed off on a notion that the evil old men did something. Well, the question is, ladies, it's always men's fault. But what have men done? Have men done anything to make your life a better place? Like I said, women today can choose to do anything they want to do. Why is that not valuable enough to you to where you honestly say thanks to guys who made that stuff possible? Let's talk about it. Hold on. Or is it the opposite? Is it always that men are always the perpetrators, women are always the victims? When we talked about abuse, look at how heated that got. To where even when they had to admit things that happen to men are rarely taken seriously. How many men have spent time in jail, prison for accusations, mere accusations? Bill Cosby, case in point. Accusations. DA runs on the platform of, this DA didn't put him in jail, I will. Accusations put him in jail. Now he's been granted an appeal, and the appellate court looks to be as though they're going to overturn his case. Why? Because what I read is the appellate court judges are saying, this shouldn't have even made it this far. This is bad law. This is bad. This is bad. This is not justice. But in the court of public opinion, he is forever tarnished. Why? Because black men always, because it's always men's fault in general, but if you're a black man, it's been a foregone conclusion. Another thing as far as black men, we have to stop being so apathetic when you see it happen to Bill Cosby or somebody else. You got to stop shrugging your shoulders saying, oh, well, and you have to start doing like what everybody else does and realizing and pushing back. I believe 80% of people are right here in the middle. There are 10% on either side that are extreme. Most people are right here. And most people realize that they want women to have equal access to things, but they want people to be able to interact with each other and not have so much hostility and animosity. And the whole notion of the gender war being out of here. That's why I said over here, 2021, gender war, we're not going to do the gender war thing. There are other people, other platforms who want to continue to, men do this. No. Even to the point to where I'm going to say something else. And I need you guys to listen to what I'm about to say. I got an email from a woman. It was a really long email, and it was entitled "Almost Blew It," and she detailed her story. I'm not going to give too many details, but she basically said, "I was thinking in this modern way, and I had all this in front of me, and I almost blew it. But after listening to your platform and being around here, it helped kind of pull me back from the edge. And now I'm living a different way and having a different outcome in life." And I like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it. I thought that was a cool story. So I went on to their wedding registry site, went where they're registered, bought something on a registry gift. Well, actually put it in the cart. Still deciding between the two things. But I clipped out something because I thought it was interesting. Clipped out their proposal. Why did I clip that out? Because how many times have I said, did he drop to one knee in public and present a ring of significant heritage? When I said that, people laughed and joked, but that traditionally is what I understand men do when they're serious about pursuing a woman. And there's far too many guys, in my opinion, in the chat room misreading this. Why would you get in this submissive position and this and that? Guys, some of y'all need to get off this BS. It's tradition. Where do you make room for tradition in your way of thinking? Everything is not that black and white. Formality. But see, when we have a world that's leaning towards anarchy and chaos, traditions go out the window. How many people today, even if it was very, very popular, how many people today have anything that resembles a traditional upbringing? As a guy, can you tie a tie? Can you tie a bow tie? Do you know the difference between a tuxedo and a suit? French cuffs, barrel cuffs. There are some things you do because it is tradition. It is not an overt, it's not, I was really tripped. It tripped me out when I read some of this. I'm like, what do you expect the man to do? Even if you aren't the kind of guy that want to get married, what do you expect him to do? Go buy her a ring and just hand it to her? Jump shot it over to her? Lob it over to her? I mean, seriously, guys, what are we talking about? But you know, maybe y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's get to it. Ladies, do you want it equal or not? You want it equal or not? Is it always men's fault? If not, what part do you ladies play in your own story? Let's open the lines.
Money work. El mundo quiere dinero. Money work. Se arregla con dinero. Money work. Si me quiero educar, dormir en algún lugar, un lugar para trabajar, y si no hay para emigrar. Todo money, money, todo el dinero. Solo un par de gente se lleva el botín entero. Funny, funny, pasa verdadero. Si tienen lo verde siempre llegará primero. Pero llegaremos antes o después. Solo a lo suyo, que Dios te lo ve. Que por más que tarde lo veré caer. Somos más lo bueno y tenemos fe. El dinero ya lo veré. No vendo mi alma, lo lograré. Seré el más grande, no olvidaré de dónde vengo ni cómo fue. Money work. El mundo quiere dinero. Money work. Se arregla con dinero. Money work. Yo digo las cosas como son. No quiero ninguna aceptación. Tampoco vengo a pedir perdón porque mis sentimientos se volvieron la canción. Yeah. No me vale mucho como tú me ves. Sabes, tú me llegas solo a los pies. Para mí ser grande es un interés. Ser un buen humano para mí es un deber. El dinero ya lo veré. No vendo mi alma, lo lograré. Seré el más grande, no olvidaré de dónde vengo ni cómo voy. Money work, yeah. El mundo quiere dinero, yeah, yeah. Money work, se arregla con dinero, yeah. Money work, de corazón. La plata no te hace ser feliz. Yeah, de corazón, yeah. La plata no te hace ser feliz. Money work. El mundo quiere dinero. Yeah, 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 yeah. Money work. Se arregla con dinero. Money work. Lunático.
All right. Gotta give that a few more minutes because it was having problems loading. But we're gonna do a little highlight.
What you gonna do when highlight catch an attitude? Drop to the knees and show gratitude. Kiss my ring, chick. This song right here is for all the fellas out there taking care of business and making that money to provide for their ladies, provide for their family, and to all the ladies out there. The fellas gonna need a little bit more than a big piece of chicken. If you got a good man and you want for nothing, and you wanna keep that man, you need to learn how to check that attitude. You need to show some appreciation. You need to show some respect. Girl, you need to bow down. All my fellas, tell your ladies. Bow to me, kneel for me, kneel for me. Kiss the ring, bow to me, kneel for me, kneel for me. Pay homage to the king in your life. Wisdom and security, I give that. Devotion and honesty, I show that. Passion and love, you feel that? Bow down, girl, you need to show some respect. Obedience and loyalty, I need that. Friendship and trust, I've earned that. Gratitude, appreciation, I deserve that. Bow down, pay homage to the king in your life. Baby girl, what's the deal? Got no time for freaking girl, you're acting mad. Never want for nothing cause I'm paying the bill. Sleeping all day, the house is filthy. No meal. Come on, girl, give me some feedback. Let me know what's good, what's up. Where's your head at? Giving me attitude, not today, girl. Dead that. Strip off them clothes, I'm tryna beat that. Bed that. You're really saying not tonight? Not tonight. My blood is boiling hot, girl. You're getting me tight. Aw, man. To the right. Don't let that door hit your ass when you leave. You talking like you hot, you not. Shorty, I know dime pieces, trust me, you not. I can get a next chick, next one. Like Gucci said, in the next 15 minutes. You ain't special, don't be foolish. Running around town like you rich, no, I'm rich. Without me, you wouldn't even have that. I'm Scrooge McDuck swimming in money. Hold my top hat. Park Avenue lifestyle, you love it. You're acting out of order and now you're gonna lose it. You claim that you're in love with me, in love with me? You wanna be my wifey, be my wifey? That's looking pretty bleak, unlikely. You should've paid homage, girl, you fucked up. Can't do it, no more, I'm done. I'm fed up, game over, clock ran out. Girl, your time's up, get your things, have a nice life. Keep your head up like Shaq and Kobe was a good team. But now we broke up, should've bowed to me, kneel for me, kneel for me. Kiss the ring, bow to me, kneel for me, kneel for me. Pay homage to the king in your life. Wisdom and security, I give that. Devotion and honesty, I show that. Passion and love, you feel that? Bow down, girl, you need to show some respect.
Let's get it. Let us get it. All right. So that's what's going on there. Song is so inspirational, I know, right? Bow to me. I made the announcement yesterday of who the prize was. Let's do this. We're going to get into this sucker right here. All right. Where are you? Okay, you're not here. Show non-video participants. You're not on video. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, please. Ow. Come on. Unmute yourself, please. Shout out to the chat room. Okay, she's not listening. So you go back to the waiting room. Nick, you can come down. You don't have any audio. Well, you folks just be coming over into the Zoom call janky like. All right. Well, we're going to keep on moving. Ultimately, what this comes down to is you didn't connect your audio, Clark. You didn't connect your audio, Days. Gonna bounce you guys back. When it asks you to connect, and to the people in the Zoom call, when it asks you to connect, you need to click call in or join using internet audio. I don't know why you guys just are not clicking that. Your audio doesn't automatically join. And let's talk about this too, because when I was talking to the woman the other day about science, engineering, technology, or math, STEM, this was a big contentious part too. It was that women would go into STEM or they can do it. So
Something
what
happens to that roof in the building you're on. Who possesses
what
the strength
difference does
to
it
patch
make
it? Even
what
if you
a
had the
woman
material.
can do or that people can do?
You see what I mean?
I see what you're saying. What I find is that even everything that you're saying, a certain amount of knowledge on both ends can a knowledge and a adaptation is what it is.
You can have all of the knowledge in the world. If you cannot lift the items, there's no knowledge. If you cannot create a fulcrum, that's what I mean. Men have built the world so well to where you ladies don't even realize how it was built. You just use it.
And that pisses some women off because I see you, Bubbly, is that her point kept being that it's not as though women can't do this. They can do it. Okay, you're not doing it. Well, they can. And when I pointed out, the numbers don't represent that. And if they can do it, they're not doing it in large numbers. And it kept going back to where there's some women, and it's like, are you doing the jobs that make society run? Are you doing the jobs that basically benefit because of a society? Then it went to, okay, well, we're not going to science, engineering, technology, and math. We need time to catch up. All right. Why you need time to catch up? Who's footing that responsibility? The very men that you say is always their fault. Okay. And then once you get up there, what's the next thing? Then you're going to want what? You're going to be entitled to the job, the head jobs? Then it became, well, they're not going because society gears women towards being feminine. What the French toast are we really doing here, folks? All right. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And when I say for so many women that think like this, it's almost like learned helplessness. It's like there was nothing I could have said in that conversation that went on for almost an hour that was ever going to get her to admit that women were choosing their paths. It's always going to be someone else's responsibility. Hello? How are you? Are you on the topic? So what do you have on the topic? Okay. So you don't have anything on the topic. Okay. Well, I'm going to see if somebody has something on the topic. I'll put you back in the waiting room. Maybe you can get kind of caught up. All right. All right. Yeah, folks, come on in on the topic because that's what I really want to hear from is if you have something on the topic. Because I can feel the space myself. Trust and believe that I am more than competent to fill this space. Unmute yourself. Ian Brown, unmute yourself. All right. We're still here. Unmute yourself. I'm gonna drop you. So,
and that's the point. We do that because you know what? Women like comfort. Women like running water. Women like heating air and lights because if we can make you comfortable,
all right, Natasha,
we can have
I'm removing
sex.
you.
That's why we did all this. But now the social contract is such that women have basically told men, okay, thank you for civilizing the world in general, basically ending war, because in my lifetime, there's not been any world wars. There's not been any real wars. Outside of COVID, we have not had any plagues. Infant mortality is, if you got pregnant, you just automatically assume you're going to have a healthy baby.
Ladies, for those of you who dislike my content, my point of view, where was all this animosity and angst when I was talking to the men for the first 3 years? The men did complain. You guys are complaining. Some of you are complaining. Not all, some. I actually get more women who like what I'm saying than anything else. Let me ask to women in general, what do you owe men? Meaning, if you're an independent woman, you're not married, no children, you still live in a society. And when I talk about the society in which you live, thrive, you can take care of yourself. But do you owe the men of the society, as imperfect as it is, anything? And why I'm asking is because it seems to me as so many of the disagreeable, because I want to be clear that not all women fit in this category, but so many of the disagreeable women today seem amazingly entitled and don't really understand who and what built this whole place that you're using. It's like you think men are just you don't think you owe men anything, not even common decency and respect. But yet, some of these folks are the same people to complain about chivalry and protection. Well, what are you giving the men of the society who you are not committed to? See, that's this whole notion of I will submit or I'll cooperate with my man. Fine. What about the other men in society? And far too often, the women who are in this disagreeable position are giving men of the society your butt to kiss. Well, what if men just decide to do like Atlas, who's holding up the world? What if men decide to do like Atlas and just say, all right, fine. You don't owe us anything. We don't owe you anything. We're going to treat you just like the equals. So if a male wildebeest gets taken down by a lion, the pack keeps running. If a female wildebeest gets taken down by the lion, the pack keep running. Is that what you ladies really truly want? What kind of respect do some of you ladies have for men? Joining. I'm going to try these people. Or is it, oh, well. All right. All right. Turn on your video. Turn on your video.
Instead of losing 30% in childbirth, dying in childbirth. And then we have done such a good job to where women, instead of saying, wow, I have all these freedoms and choices, to the point now women turning to men and saying, well, I can do this without you. And men are looking at you like, are you out of your mind?
What I also think a lot of the things that you're saying in terms of like what led to quote unquote civilization as you're speaking, there have been women influences in that as well.
Name me 5 great female inventors.
Excuse me?
5 great female inventors. I'll give you one, Madame Curie. Go.
I was going to say Madame Curie.
Tell me one you got.
Well, I think also we don't learn about a lot of these things. And a lot of the time.
You hear this? We don't learn about it. Give me 5 great female inventors, speaking so forcefully and so convincingly about how there's not much difference between us, where the rubber meets the road. See, this is where the facts, the data, the statistics, these things start to bother folks, because there's no interpretation. When it comes down to saying 2 + 2 is 4, that throws a lot of these things awry. And instead of just saying, you know what, maybe there is something good about men. Instead of believe all women, and it's always the men's fault. See, you ladies who are in alignment with this kind of thought process are good with it until it's a man that you care about. If it's your son, then you want him to be given benefit of the doubt, presumed innocence, all these other things. You want him to be treated like a human. But yet you give the men of the society that you don't personally know your butt to kiss. How long do you ladies think this situation can go on? How long do you think this situation can go on before it's untenable?
Yes, because women
they do exist, but they do exist.
They don't. No, they don't. Like not like women want them to. Because when human beings are left alone, we assort ourselves well. See, when humans are left alone, men tend to gravitate towards science, engineering, technology, and math. Why are there still less than 5% of all college students in science, engineering, technology, and math? Why are less than 5% women?
I think also that's the way that society gears men towards.
No, ma'am.
Literally from
This woman is about to make the argument that the reason so many women at college level are not choosing to go into engineering is because society geared boys at a younger age to engineering and women to not that, when society needs these jobs. See, in China, they'll come along and tell you, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. Choice is taken. But in our society, it's open and free. But you're going to hear her make the argument that even when it's time for her to make a free choice, the choice was already determined based upon society. Ladies, do you really want to live in a world that is that constrained? This removes all accountability from women and puts every choice women make on men. All right, you dropped out too, so cool. Don't know what's going on, but you folks can choose to get on or not. So, and this person's done, you can connect it. So we're going to just bounce you out.
You have a choice.
From elementary school, I'm going to tell you right now, from elementary school through junior high school, they cater towards men. They gear the men towards those things.
They used
that
to.
That is true.
That is not, ma'am. They used to do that when they had home ec and shop.
She is saying, and she's 36 years old, she is honestly trying to make the argument that women today, from elementary school on forward, are geared towards gender-specific paths. That is a complete falsehood. They have taken out men's shop class. They have taken out boys' shop class. They have taken out women's home ec class. If there were gender specific curriculums, public school systems would be sued into oblivion. And she's really making this argument because ultimately, if women don't succeed, it's a man's fault. It's always our fault.
No, in this feminist world, it's a gender neutral curriculum.
This we are not even seeing the effects of the gender neutral world. We are just now
we're starting to see the effects of it.
Of a gender neutral world with Gen Z.
We're starting to see the effects of it. We're starting to see the
we are literally just starting to see the effects of it.
That's
we still see in this world.
Okay, man.
Girls play with Barbie, boys play with
Why
cars.
are women not?
She's saying in this world, we're still seeing girls play with Barbies, boys play with cars. And if I had heard this, there was a breakup in this piece. She's saying that there were no toys for girls. Yes, they're called Legos. They're called erector sets. They're called My Junior Scientist. Ma'am, you are outright wrong here. And if I had heard this clearly, I would have responded to it. She's basically making it seem as though only things girls could get are dollies. And boys are getting tools. It's always our fault.
Going into the trades, science. Why are women not going into the very things that help the society run? Women, when left to their own, go into humanities and the arts. They don't go into science
because that's what they cater women towards.
That's what they cater towards.
I'll tell you this right now: the world in 100 years is going to be completely differently. Now that there's not a.
Are you trying to tell me that? Are you trying to tell me?
Even in education, they cater women towards certain things, and they cater men towards certain things.
No.
Sir, are you really?
This woman actually gonna sit back there. Yeah. They gear men towards this. And to the point to where she got indignant. No, sir, are you really not going to tell me that? No, ma'am, they don't. They simply don't. They can't. Legally, they can't. They're gearing more women to masculine stuff. And they're gearing more boys to feminine stuff. Even on the playground, they've taken away recess. Boys are expected to sit in their spaces and behave in the classroom like a girl. And if they don't, they're medicating these boys into, you need to put on some kind of medication so he will sit here like a girl. Classrooms are better for girls. Boys tend to be more active learners, need that kind of environment. See, why I'm playing this is because this is what so many women believe, that ultimately if they can't succeed, it's our fault. Even when men take all the restrictions away and this is what happens when men try to make it to where you're gender neutral. You still can't make them happy. Women like this will never be happy until they are in power. And the question is, and in my personal opinion, no facts, no data, statistics, I think many women who think like this have a problem with it because they know if they had power, how they would use it.
Telling that in school they don't cater people towards one way or the other, depending on what their gender is.
Louder and louder and louder. No.
Hello.
No,
they do.
Hello. I cannot hear you. Yes. Where's your photo? Or a video? Okay, what do you got for me? Yes. I can barely hear you. Okay. Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you, ma'am. When you guys get on, you're going to need to I know you guys are in your robes and things like that, but look, please get on the microphone. Please speak into the microphone. You know, I've had folks come in rolling up joints. Folks, please, for the little bit of time that you're going to be here, can you just focus and let's have the conversation? I don't want the world to see people rolling up joints or smoking. And this is starting to happen more frequently. Please put it to the side. We're only going to be on for a little bit of time. See, I try to be careful of the image. There are some people who would love to see that kind of stuff and just run with it. I'm not going to do that.
Sir.
Don't overtalk me on my show.
Okay.
That's rude.
Sir.
Because I'm going to ask you. Okay, you were raised by your parents. Did you go to public school?
I went to public school.
So a public school curriculum, are you telling me in the public school curriculum, they shifted women one direction and men another?
When I sat down with my guidance counselor, yes.
No.
When I sat.
The question I asked her was, are you trying to tell me in the public school curriculum, they shifted boys one way and the girls another one? And she actually tried to thread this needle. She tried to basically say, yes, the entire school did it by the guidance counselor in a clandestine way telling her one-to-one, you need to go to nursing and be a girl, while in public having a gender-neutral platform. Are you insane? Listen.
My guidance counselor, they're like, hey, Mel, why don't you look into nursing instead of this? I'm like,
guidance counselor. What did your
nursing instead of this? How many men are nurses? Nursing, while one of the professions I say high value men tend to find a little problematic, more for the logistics and some other things that go along with it. Their words, not mine. She honestly said they tried to tell me to go into nursing. They didn't tell her to go into baking or doll making. Nurses make enough money to sustain a lifestyle, a middle-class lifestyle, and they're needed everywhere. But in a womanist concept, it's a plan to keep you feminine, as if being feminine is a bad thing. Now, I will say that I've watched some of her dance videos and everything else. You don't mind putting your femininity and sexuality into your dance, as you should.
Mother and father do.
My mother and father also wanted me to be more feminine and take more feminine routes than what is considered a masculine route.
Shame on your mother and father for wanting their girl to be more feminine. They just really, 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 they just steered you wrong. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up. A more feminine route. Okay.
Again, so now what we're doing is lacking accountability, because now you're saying the reason you are where you are is because your parents put you here and the guidance counselor. You're 36?
Mm-hmm.
Hello? You muted yourself again. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. I'll ask you to unmute yourself again. Unmute yourself. Speak clearly, please. Yes, I can. What's your first name? What do you got for me? Mm-hmm.
Acceptable for, roles to be traditional. So women going into nursing and men doing blue collar like work. It's a societal norm, unfortunately. So when women go into fields like nursing and they can obtain, a $60,000 income, and a man goes into a field such as maintenance or, plumbing, and they can obtain a $40,000 like salary, it kind of throws a woman's mind off, I would say.
They throw what off?
The woman's mind in regards to what
Oh,
men have to offer versus what women have to offer.
because they're making more money?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I see that, but I also think that many women really don't, because I would say many folks don't use a plumber on a daily basis. They don't really know how much plumbers tend to make. I don't know many plumbers who are making $40,000 a year. Plumbers are making like $60, $70 an hour. Most plumbers I know are making $75,000 plus. But to your point, when I asked a young lady who was in college, could you see yourself marrying a plumber? Off the rip, she said no. And she was going to school for something that was probably going to make her about half what a plumber made. And she judged him on the title of plumber.
Right. So, like I said, when men go into fields, so I'm a property manager. I come across men in, dirtier fields, such as plumbing. When you start out into plumbing, I want to say sometimes they start out at about 45.
Right.
So in a woman mind, on average, it's like, oh no, he doesn't, he doesn't qualify. Even though I think you had a show a couple of days ago that said, like, the average earner in regards to men is like 40,000, and that's not enough to qualify for a woman.
Well, let me ask you, because you said you're a property manager, right?
Correct.
For an apartment complex?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me how valuable a plumber is when you have 30 units that have backed up plumbing problems.
He's extremely valuable.
Exactly.
I have 112 with multiple plumbing issues.
Exactly.
My plumber is my best friend.
So you, as a woman who work in an environment, you understand the value of a plumber outside of the money.
Right.
Let me but the point I'm making, though, is many women, because they're not really, if you didn't work in a property management, let's say you just worked in a bank, you would not have the same firsthand knowledge. That is why so many of our like, you got Hispanic men and other cultures who actually revere tradesmen, because men revere tradesmen. But it's weird because it's like, in this case, in the Black community, Black women don't revere blue collar or tradesmen.
Right. That's
it's
true.
Wild.
That is very true.
And the sad part is, I come from blue collar folks, factory workers, tradespeople. I am a staunch advocate for men who work with their hands and do the quote unquote dirty jobs. I think they deserve the most respect. And I think many men think that way, but we've gotten to a place to where women in our group, so we're going to keep it in the family now, don't even understand what you would know. Saying your best friend is a plumber because you got 112 units to manage? Nah, man. One plumbing problem upstairs can be a problem. Tell them about it.
Right. So, I've got tons of plumbing issues. And outside of that, though, like, trading isn't something that's pushed as hard as a college education.
Mm-hmm.
Electricians are, those guys are essentially that's a trade. Those kind of studies, those kinds of environments are not pushed in the same regards as somebody who's going for a business degree. And we all know that he's going to go, probably be a school teacher or a banker. And he's not going to make what a plumber would make. He's not going to make what an electrician would make. And unfortunately, women if you're not exposed, you're not exposed,
Right.
But that also kind of goes back to
you just made me think of something. You just made me think of something. Hold on. You just made me think of something. I think this is what Friday's show is going to be. There's a brother that wrote a book called The Black Tax. And in his book, I watched a video on this book, and it taught me something. After the 1960s, 70s, and the 80s, into about the 70s or 80s, it is stated that if a boy has at least 2 male teachers in his developmental years, he does 30 to 40 to 50 times better in academics and life, because he sees men. Because I didn't have a father in the household, but I saw men early on in academia. I saw them as my 6th grade teacher and my third grade teacher. Principals were men. I saw men in the black tax. What he said is because, and I don't want to butcher it, but the premise was this: we used to have a lot of HBCUs that would funnel black people into teaching other black folks. And that was economies. The average teacher was, even let's say in Oklahoma or Texas, the average teacher is making between 40 to 50, right?
Right.
He said we lost so many black male teachers. The total is in the billions of dollars annually we're losing from black male teachers' money in the economy. Not to include the multiplying effect upon having black men in these positions. That's going to be Friday's show, because you hit on a good point about not being able to see it and undervaluing how important teachers are.
Right.
Because they all want to push folks to think they want to put on a suit and shirt. That's only a small percentage of anybody in corporate America. So I thank you for bringing these points up. It's probably one of the reasons why you are a married woman right now. You're rather sensible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your husband sounded like he picked well. Thank you.
He did.
Well, good for him. All right, y'all enjoy. Peace.
Bye.
That was a good call. Yeah, The Black Tax. It's a book. We're going to talk about it because, like I said, when I heard that, I was like, you're right, because I grew up in a single parent household. We didn't have a whole lot, but because I did see men working with their hands, my grandfather, talked about him before, then my family's factory workers. But in school, I went to school where I saw men who were teachers, principals, coaches, my band director who played very large in my life. A man. The men just weren't in sports, mathematics, history, civics, science. At every level, they had men teaching these classes. Not just throwing it away. I mean, they went to school to teach these subjects. And we have taken so much of that out to where the average rank and file black child in the public school is educated by people who don't share his reflection or his gender. Most elementary education is dominated by women. Why? Because of what the caller just said, because of the societal capital a man has for being elementary. I need the people who may think I'm off base on a lot of stuff. I need you to ask yourself a question. If you ran up on somebody, if you were out talking to a man and he hit your template, he hit your physical requirements, the initial attraction was there. You started speaking to him, and then you went to rate him like so many women rate men by asking him, what do you do for a living? That's putting a rating on a man, ladies. So don't get mad when I talk about what do you rank yourself? That's a rating. By asking what he does for a living, you're going to get a ballpark estimate on his salary and income, and then also his socioeconomic capital in the world, saying that he's the VP of mergers and acquisitions for a Fortune 500 company, carries a lot more SMV than I am a third grade teacher. Even if that person said I'm a third grade teacher at a private school, and this guy over here has a middling corporate job, he would have less. And see, men accept these things. So when men realize the rewards aren't going to be there, men, human beings, are driven by incentives. That's a good topic. So yeah, I don't just get on the microphone and talk shit. I actually read. I actually study this stuff to try to come and present the best information, not just giving you my opinions.
When you went to college, who paid for it?
The state paid for it.
And did you get a scholarship?
Technically, yes.
Okay. Did you have any student loans?
Yes.
Did you get to choose your curriculum?
I did choose my curriculum.
Okay, so mommy and daddy had nothing to do with that, neither did the guidance counselor. That was your choice.
No, they did not.
No, you got to choose.
Yeah, I did choose.
Okay.
I think what we're failing to understand is even within choice, and you use accountability, right? Even within choice, the choices you have are also based on how you learned things.
Turn off your YouTube in the background.
You have choices.
I do believe that if you learn something and you naturally are going to select choices in the way that you have learned.
Hello? Yeah. Do you have all other windows closed other than Zoom? Okay, I don't think we have any background noise. Hi, how are you? Yep. What do you got for me on the topic?
Men and how men are they're raised by women.
Okay.
And yeah, I do think that women sometimes, and it's interesting because I've been having this conversation with a lot of my girlfriends that are both married and single at the same time. And they get angry when things don't happen their way, and they do blame men sometimes, but in the same breath, they want to vain independence and say that they don't need men. But I think something that's interesting with a topic that you had the other night was stating that women don't need men, that women need men, and that men don't need women at all, and men would be able to survive without women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really destructive towards this kind of bond that you're trying to build between men and women.
Okay, before you say what you think it is, let me ask you a question.
Of course.
Is it accurate?
Is what accurate specifically?
Men who built the infrastructure, if Thanos snapped away the women, men in the main could live to the end of their natural existence by simply maintaining the infrastructure in which we built.
Correct. I think women could also maintain the infrastructure.
But see, that's the difference between this. Let me finish the follow-up question. Could women maintain the infrastructure they did not build and they're not trained to run?
Yes.
How could women effectively do that before nature set in? Meaning, yes, you possess the intellectual capability to read a manual. You possess all of that. But still, infrastructure breaks down. Have you ever had a manual labor job or a job where you had to work with machinery?
So I will say, and I had this discussion with my boyfriend today, I do all my own manual labor at my house. I've changed.
Okay, your own manual labor at your house, man, but I'm asking you, have you ever had to work with heavy machinery?
To a lesser degree, but if I needed to,
Give me an example.
I worked a job back home in a bakery where I was dealing with heavy machinery in the
What
bakery.
kind of machinery, ma'am?
Anything that had to do with industrial baking.
Okay, so no offense, but in a kitchen.
Pardon me?
No offense, but it's in a kitchen, industrial baking.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm talking about, man, is I'm talking about
You're talking about construction.
I'm talking about power plants, power grids. I'm talking about refineries, oil wells, oil derricks. I'm talking about heavy machinery, backhoes.
Of course.
Things that hold on, listen. I'm talking about the things that negate physical advantage that men have.
Right.
And there, you cannot tell me you can train a population of women to get them up to speed to do the job at the level men are doing it before women start to die off. If you understand how this country is run, how the power grid is laid out, if you understand how the logistics work, when Corona came around, one of the biggest concerns were that the medication flow was going to stop because we have a one-drop logistics chain. We don't have much for disaster recovery. Why do you think you didn't see toilet paper and water? Because all the logistics broke down. People went and bought all of the stuff. There was no more stuff. I get that women have the mental ability to do it, but how long do you survive without clean water?
Can we take a step back in your argument? Because what you're saying is that physically women don't have the capability to maintain and sustain the development that's been built by men, correct?
Yes.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, you don't.
Okay, so that's where I disagree with you. And I disagree with it because I will say there's a caveat to this. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. There's 2 sisters, 2 brothers.
Man, where are you going to disagree on the fact about the physical strength?
That it is very possible. So my disagreement is that it is very possible for women to sustain physically an environment that men have built without men.
No, ma'am. You said you disagree with the notion of the strength difference between men and women.
Yes, because
listen. No. You can overtalk me. I don't do that. Okay. The average hand strength of a man to a woman is like a 17 or 70. I forget them. It's magnitudes larger for a man versus a woman. In the fire department, to be able to be a fireman, you have to be able to do a 200-pound dead man's carry. Did you watch the beginning of this show?
I did.
Women fail the test, the physical readiness test. No, you can't overtalk me. Women fail the physical readiness test 65% of the time. That, you know what exercise they failed? You want to know what exercise they failed? Hanging from a pole, hanging from a chin-up bar, pulling your knees to your chin. That's what the women failed. It wasn't lifting heavy weights. It was moving their own French toast body weight.
Yep.
So telling me just because you may be a rugged woman that women like you are the norm is a fantasy.
Well, so number one, I take the slight offense to you calling me rugged.
What would you want me to call you, ma'am? You came in talking about your background and you worked with industrial machinery. What would you want me to call you?
Well, number one, with all due respect, that was one instance when I was 16. You asked me for an example. So
what would you like me to call you?
You can call me by my name. That's
the modifier. You are making yourself seem as though you are different than most women. Are you this? Okay, let's back up.
Yeah,
and here's the thing. If you don't like if you watch my show, ma'am, you should know how I speak. So this is no snowflake zone as far as I'm concerned. If you can't handle it, I'll bid you a good night.
There's no snowflake here.
Well, then then what's the insult in calling you rugged?
I think rugged comes with connotations that aren't necessarily.
What is the insult in calling you rugged?
Rugged comes with connotations that.
What would you like me to call you when you're trying to make yourself seem as though I can do this heavy machinery? I did industrial banking. I'm 1, 2, or 5 kids, and I was born this way. When most women don't talk about these things as part of being their feminine asset, that's considered to be far more masculine.
Right. So your argument is flawed, and this is,
Right. My argument's flawed. Women. Okay. Here's where we're going to ultimately get to. I'm not going to get into a circular argument with you, ma'am. You can believe what you want to. I really don't care whether you believe what they want to. But the bottom line is, you can believe what you want to, but you cannot show me that if women can do these jobs and run the infrastructure, why are you not doing it? Because they pay better. And it's easier for women to.
We can allow men to do it.
You don't have to. Because you don't have to. Okay. So in other words, you benefit off of men doing them. Are you honestly trying to tell me that you think?
Yes.
Are you no? I've said you're not going to overtalk me. I meant that shit. Maybe you overtalk your boyfriend. That doesn't work here. Are we clear? Nod your head and say we clear. Good. I'll be nice to you if you're nice to me, man, but I'm not going to allow you to overtalk me like that. If you're honestly telling me that women can get up to speed and run the infrastructure to the same level of efficiency that men can, I think you are sadly mistaken. But you are free to be sadly mistaken.
May I speak?
Sure.
So that is not the argument that I'm making. Initially, you said that women are incapable of surviving without men. Men are capable of surviving without
That is not
women.
what I said. I did not say incapable. I said the majority of women will not live to the end. No. Let me clear you up because I know what I say because I'm responsible for what comes out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I said women are incapable of living to the end of their natural existence in mass. Meaning that, yes, by the time women actually got up to speed and learned. See, here's the thing. The presumption is that the requisite information that you and other women need to learn is digital and that the systems are still running. But see, when the power grid fails, all the information and the manuals are where? They're warehoused in libraries and in other places. And you would have to actually physically go read this stuff. And the time in which it takes you to actually download and read the knowledge, there are women who are on dialysis. There are women who are on oxygen. There are women who need all kinds of things. Women are dying because because the infrastructure is breaking down. While you're getting up to speed, there is attrition. Men don't require that because they're already doing it. It's simply knowledge transfer from one man to another. There's no needing to get up to speed. It's, hey man, do this. There is no transfer because there are no women already doing that. Can we agree on that part?
Yes, and can we add another piece to this then? Because you raise an excellent point to another piece that women outlive men. In retirement homes, you see more women.
You outlive men because of modern advances. Women didn't typically outlive men because you would die most of the time where? In childbirth.
Childbirth, yeah.
Exactly. So even your lengthy existence is due to men.
Okay, so then isn't that the circular argument that?
No, it's not. It means that the reason you women can feel like you can do what we do is because we've civilized the world in general to where you have forgotten how hard it actually is to live. Ma'am, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Don't believe me. Go after this show is over.
I didn't say that.
Listen. Okay, but listen to what I'm about to say. Go after the show is over and go to Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Go look for a series called The Island by Bear Grylls.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
All right. In season 2, if you watch it, you saw men and women. The producers came out and said they manipulated the environment because women were dropping like flies. Mm-hmm. Women for the audience. These people start off on islands. They have a few matches, knife, a little bit of string, some fish hooks, some things like that, and 2 large canisters to actually purify water. 2 for everybody. What did the women do? Women actually found a pig. Not a pig. When they finally decided, they found a pig. They found a pig, but they named the pig. Mm-hmm. They named the pig and didn't want to kill the pig. Right. But when they finally decided that they needed to kill the pig and eat something, they finally decided they killed it. And guess what? Where did the women, after they gorged themselves, what they decided to do with the meat? They decided to put the meat into one of the water canisters to store it, to keep it from bugs and pests and everything else. And guess what happened? Bacteria, everything set in. They went and opened the water canister and it was putrid. What did these women do? They took the putrid canister and put it in the river and left. They cut their water supply by half and damn near died of dehydration. Yep. They had to go back 4 days later after the rescue team came in and said, "Bam, you can't survive. You can't make enough fresh water on this island. There's not enough. You can't capture enough. You need to go take that canister, clean it out, and use it to boil and purify water." If they hadn't been told that knowledge, they'd all be dead. That is irrefutable.
So I have enough respect for you to say this. Don't you think, though, that that is fictionalized by reality TV in order
Oh
to
my
provide
God.
entertainment?
I think what's fictionalized, what I think is fictionalized, what I think is fictionalized is you women actually thinking that there's not much difference between us. Because you saw those women.
Oh, no.
You know, ma'am, you asked me, you saw those women. You saw those women at the end of 6 weeks. At the end of 6 weeks, men had built a functional shelter. They had killed large prey. They had fished. They had actually repaired the net to capture lots of fish. Men were living well. Matter of fact, the only guys that had been taken off that island were due to actual falls and injuries. In week 5, women were still trying to lead by French toast committee.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, I get that you may be a different caliber and cut of woman, but you are not the majority.
So is it not fair then to say, and I'm going to take that as a compliment, but is that not fair to say then that there's a codependency and a healthy codependency between men and women, that we both require each other for a healthy existence?
No,
so that
I'll tell you why it's not. I'll tell you why it's not. I will tell you why it's not. Let me give you an example of why it's not. Let me give you an example. Let's go back 1,000 years. Okay. Actually, let's go back even further. Let's go back to the time of Alexander. Let's go back to the time of warring states. How come
Alexander the Great?
Yeah. How come men could walk? How come men could live in armies of all men and be gone from their city, state, province and live with all men?
Yeah.
That shows we don't need you. The only thing we need you for is reproduction. We want you for sex. But see, even then, a lot of times those guys had pages or squires. Those young boys were sexual companions to these men as well.
Right.
When they had followers camp, what was in followers camp? The brothel. Because that's what the soldiers who had R&R were able to go spend their money in the brothels.
So how that's are the where men got their sex from.
Because back then the men who were married had to be able to provide for a woman. Most men lived and died in the military. Many men lived and died in the military. Where were the equivalent women doing this? Marching across the world, discovering the world. You can't, ma'am. You don't have the strength to do it.
So we're no longer in Alexander the Great times, right? There's a lot of modernization that has removed a lot of the physical requirements for men, for even men to do a lot of physical jobs. So how does that take place then in modern times? How is there because
this is why you see so many shows like The Walking Dead and stuff coming up.
Right.
Because men still, because like it or not, men, even though we're in modern times, we are still the human animal. We still have our hunter instincts. We still know what needs to be done. The only reason women can make the argument you're making is because it is modern times. Ma'am, what is more vulnerable than a pregnant female?
Hey, you know what? There's a lot of women in my life my sister just gave birth. There's a lot of that is an excellent point to make. I think
a woman with a child cannot hunt for. A woman with a child cannot hunt.
She can't do anything.
Exactly. So you require the men. Men don't require that. Men have to be able to sustain themselves. So you're breaking your own argument just in a state of nature.
Well,
a mother cannot a mother cannot produce milk, keep milk flowing, hunt and take down enough prey to keep lactating and protect her child at the same time. She's going to have to leave that child somewhere. Mm-hmm. That crying child is going to be left somewhere to nature and predators.
So isn't there an argument to be made then for the tribes in the Amazonian and in certain parts of Africa?
Amazonian? You mean fiction?
No, Kevin, that's factually correct. And then in certain
okay, I'll give you Wonder Woman and Demascara. Okay, ma'am, fine.
No.
I'll give you all of the Amazonian.
You don't need to be facetious, no.
Yeah, because it's a facetious argument, man. Because when I hear women talk about, what about when they had matriarchies and they had queens? The people who still ran the environments, who were the soldiers in these matriarchal armies, were still the men. The men were still the farmers. The men were still the hunters. The men were still in the army.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
So, but what I was saying before, and to the point, and coming back to what I was saying, is that because things have changed now and men are not required physically to do a lot of the things that, as you're stating, previously had to, how is there not then a codependency on men and women? And
we don't, because men are, okay, ma'am, the society that you live in, the society that you live in, the men who are not required to do something are still being sustained by the men who are doing it.
So then what is their value?
Listen, let me explain it to you. Let me explain. No, don't, you're over talking me, ma'am. Please don't make me go there, because I know you can hear me. The men who are working the power plants, the men who are working the power grids, the men who are working the refineries and all these other things, they're doing their job. Then the men who are over here doing what they do. That has the society running. So these men don't have to do it because these men are. These men know that they were going to have to train these men to replace them. We know how to run a world we built. There are not enough women over here doing these jobs to sustain the population of women over here. There are enough men over here doing these jobs today to sustain the population of men today, because it's happening. That is the fundamental math you cannot get around. There are not enough women today doing the jobs to sustain a population of women who are not. You need us to live.
Is there then not an argument to be made that if there are these men that
can you at least acknowledge that before you make another argument?
Yeah, I'm gonna. What I want to add.
Can you acknowledge it before you add? Before you acknowledge, can you acknowledge before you add? Because I don't like women moving the goalposts.
No. I hear what you're saying. Of course.
But you have not acknowledged it.
How would you? I'm not.
Would you agree or disagree? Okay. Would you agree that there are men running the infrastructure environment and men over here not running? But we have enough men running the infrastructure environment to where these men don't have to. Would you agree? That's the current setup.
Saying that there are men that are dependent on the other men that are running the infrastructure?
Yeah, the current setup, yes.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Would you also agree that in the current setup, there are not enough women running the same set infrastructure to provide for the same population of women using the infrastructure?
Yeah, of course. I'm not disagreeing with that.
All right, ma'am. Well, if that's the case, what you're saying is the women who are in the minority over here can keep it running at a level to where what you're basically saying is you can't. I don't know if you understand the math of this, but I'm not trying to be funny, but you're basically trying to say a minority of women that already exist can keep an infrastructure running that it requires the majority of men to do. You're basically saying that, let's just give a number to it. Let's say for the infrastructures, women are running the infrastructure at a 20% rate. I'll give you 20%. That means 80% still by men. That makes a total of 100%. Running it for 51% of females and 49% of males. So 80% of the infrastructure is being run for 49% of the males. 20% of women are running infrastructure for 51% of the males. If we look at it, it's just male to female. Yep. But if you take that away, you're getting 100% production from the grid. 20% of women cannot produce for 51% of women when it takes 80% of men to produce for 49% of men. It's mathematically impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, what you're saying isn't false. What I want to ask you, because I think there's a missing piece to this in terms of what I'm understanding in terms of what you're saying, is that if there are a certain percentage of men who are dependent on the larger group of men who have sustained this infrastructure, why do we need them then? So what's their value in this?
Okay, to answer your question, hold on. If there's a certain percentage of men over here surviving and these guys are running the infrastructure, why do we need these men?
So because you said...
Are you asking the question, why are the men who are not running the infrastructure needed?
Correct.
Well, the men term them as necessary because those are our replacements. Those are the people who come in to do the job. See, there's always going to be somebody at the front of the peloton and at the back. See, men understand that we need each other and we're willing to do these jobs. Just like on the island, there were guys who hunted, there were guys who fixed nets. But we never tried to act as though one were greater than the other. We understand we need one another. Women try to act like everybody's equal and that you can all do it on your own. The reality is this, man, women in this country, in this world, you're running on override. Men have provided a world of plenty enough to where you could even make this argument. And for the audience, I need you to remember something. A key point. this woman, and I'm going to bring out your color right now, this white woman, first came in saying that you were having this argument with who?
I'm sorry, it was an argument with I didn't hear the word you said.
You were having this argument with who earlier today?
Oh, no, it wasn't an argument. We were having a discussion about
with whom?
My boyfriend, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got a man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do.
That's all I'm trying to make. You got a man. So understand something. You can make these womanist arguments. You can make these equality arguments, but at the end of the day, you still got a penis in the house. And right. Hopefully you go home and use it, because he sounds like, putting up with you, as nice as you may be, ma'am, you must be a piece of work. Get out of here. Bye. She even had to laugh at that shit herself. Bye, Veronica. Godfather. Undefeated. Ladies, it's not an insult. You guys got to acknowledge that you need us to survive. We don't need you to survive. We're surviving just fine. We can make the men who are running this world make enough to where the men who aren't running and the women can run. So if we just cut half the population outside of the, reproduction, the sexual component and all the other horrible things that come along with not having women, there will be plenty. You could arguably say you'd have double the resources. All right. So that was good back and forth, though. Like I said, she came in and saying, my boyfriend, I'm like, okay. And this is what I also want to bring up. Why did I bring up that last point? I brought up that last point because there's been such an argument made for womanism, the woman's movement in the 60s. The argument has been made that in the Black community, Black women took their eye off the ball of the civil rights struggle and linked up with the women's equality movement, ERA, all this other stuff. And women came along and made compelling arguments to Black women who had never really been oppressed by their men, who never were really fighting their men for power. The dominant society came along and said, hey, let's down with these old patriarchs. And instead of just riding with your men, the argument has been made that women took their eye off the civil rights struggle here. And all the gains of the civil rights movement mathematically have gone to women. Title IX, which requires equal representation in anything that gets federal or government funding, state or federal funding, I believe that's it. Title IX basically means that if you're going to have in a collegiate football, you got to have as many sports programs for women, meaning you got to have equality. Even though at University of Oklahoma, the OU basketball team was a draw. The basketball team, the female basketball team, you couldn't give tickets away. No one cared. And to the fact that we're sitting here arguing, well, no. Men can do it just fine. They've always done it. And I think more of you ladies need to start being realistic and realizing that, you know what, you've been told you don't need men, but your man is the structure. Because I will say it again, she had that argument with her boyfriend. How many of your boyfriends are... Good back and forth, though. Good back and forth. Yeah, this whole thing about physical strength. And that's why I was talking about you can't learn this stuff. I mean, that's another thing. It amazes me how many women today really believe information is on the... Google is almost some people's gods. Do you know how to use the Dewey Decimal System? Do you know how to actually find a book in the library? When was the last time many people actually went to a library and read a book? It takes a while to read. And if you've ever read a manual, let me tell you, reading a manual on a processing plant is boring reading. Let me see. Here's a pilot plant. We're going to take this crude oil and desulfur. We're going to take the sulfur out of the crude oil. So we got to go get the oil out of the ground, pump it out. And to keep the natural gas flowing, we got to take the sulfur out. We got to, let's see. All right. So who's going to, if you've ever worked in a lab before, a chemical plant, those machines to do what they do, at one end goes in one thing and something else comes out the other end. There are all kinds of things that happen in this process that if it breaks down, the end product's not going to happen. And the assumption is that that women could just pick up the manual and read it and just like that, be producing at the rate a man who's been doing a job 20 years can. That sounds insane to me. And what she said actually at the end made sense. Well, why do we need to do the jobs? You guys are doing them. Yeah, you're doing them because if we didn't, the world would fall apart. But I'm telling you this also, there's a part of a social contract. I don't really think many women want to get to the point to what happens when Atlas shrugs. I don't want to see that part. But the notion of saying that it's a destructive argument to make women aware that we are not equals and that you benefit greatly by the man of the world when we're being told that men don't matter, when we're being told that it's all men's fault, then when even somebody like myself comes along and just says some common sense, facts, logic, and reason, and you want him destroyed. And the thing is, I said it before and I say it again, this has never been about me. It's not about me. And you can be as upset or angry with the facts, data, statistics, all you want to. When all this hoo-ha and back and forth, that woman has a boyfriend. The other woman I talked about earlier today has got a fiance. The people who made the videos are getting engaged. More people are starting to realize, you know what, we need one another. So all these upset, angry folks who just want to keep arguing, going back and forth, like I said at the beginning, cui bono, who benefits? Cui bono, who benefits? All right. Good stuff. I think I have time for one more call before we wrap it up. Wrap it up. If you want to get on the call, you need to be on video. Reggaeton. And shout out to her for being a good sport. I appreciate it. I like a good debate. I did say women only. So start your video, folks, in the Zoom call. You need to start your video. If you want to get on, you need to start your video. Why we do that?
Okay.
Psychology.
Why again, I don't believe in predeterminism because it goes to learned helplessness. Women have a choice. You could choose to go to the Mayo Clinic and become an engineer just like so many women that follow my platform. And if I actually allowed you on my YouTube platform, women would shout you down for saying that they don't have choices. They were steered this way. You can choose.
I never said that they don't have choices.
Okay, but so who's responsible for your outcomes? Basically saying that your choices, they steered you this way. They steer guys into athletics too, but you can still decide to do something else. And when left alone, even outside of this bizarro land you're talking about, women still they are trying to, since you want to talk about it, they are pushing women to get, Title IX is pushing women to the STEM, and women aren't going there. They don't want to do it. They're offering women scholarships that go unfulfilled at the University of Oklahoma. They can't get them in there. They don't want to.
I think, again, what I'm saying is the effects of what's going on now, where even playing with different toys, specifically with different toys, I am now seeing toys that can cater to a female engineer now, like maybe within the last 5 years, 6 years. I didn't have those toys growing up where I could build things and use my curiosity in that way
That's an outright, I'm sorry, remember, that's an outright lie. You had the same toys men had. They're called Legos. Lincoln Logs, erector sets. You had all those things. Where's this? The notion that women are perpetual victims. Everything that was coming out of her mouth is women are in the position they're in, and it's a man's fault. And we haven't seen the results of a gender neutral society. Oh, yes, we are. Marriage rates dropping, birth rates dropping. David's bridal, the dating economy is gone. The hookup culture is here. Swipe left, swipe right. Netflix and chill would have been the concept of Netflix and chill would have seemed alien when I was in my teens and 20s. Gender neutral society. Women and men can have sex the same way with no consequences. So now we get the S walk. We are seeing the benefit. We are seeing the ramifications. And for the most part, society is not looking too good. But in this argument, the payoff is going to be some sort of increased productivity or increased levels of utils by women getting fully up to speed and doing what men's jobs were. Or else, what's the point? Why do we need to invest into this to wait 50 years to get the same outcome or lower outcome? I won't be here. Many of you guys won't be here, but I just don't think this is going to work.
Because the girls played with girls' toys and the boys played with boys' toys.
I mean, you can say,
and then regardless of the fact, I'm not saying that the choice doesn't exist, but regardless, it is a learned experience. You make choices from your learned experience.
I'm not going to try to change the way a feminist or a womanist thinks because it's pointless. The bottom line is this. You wanted a world where you were more equal, you got it. And with equality comes accountability. So you want to be more equal?
You wanted a world where you were more equal. You got it. So don't get upset like when the women were talking about, when you meet a man that has a 50-50 mindset and he wants to split the check. You want it equal. Just like that woman got offended that I said that she's more rugged. Men don't even know what you want for the most part. Should I open the door? Or should I not open the door? Should I give her a compliment? Or is that man to the point to where men are just starting to treat you like women? Treat you like men. Then you're wondering, where's the chivalry? Over there in Title IX. You can't have it all, ladies.
And have the choice, then if you want to be equal, then here's what you also need to do. Title IX, you're supposed to be equal pay for equal work. You need to be serving equality on the front lines. You need to be equally in the sewers, equally on the trucks, equally on the skyscrapers, equally in the fire department, equally in the police department, without any changing of the rules. You need to be able to do a 200-pound dead man's carry if you want the same money. This world has catered to women's desires and fantasies and made so many women today believe you're special and you're just, I want to say just average, but you're not really producing. Women take from a society.
You're out of your mind. This woman says, at the rate women are outpacing men, there will come a time when women can do men's jobs. Okay. Welcome to the jungle. I'm sorry, but no French toast way. You honestly can say that. No. We're going to have the conversation now. We're going to have the conversation. Unmute yourself. How old are you? 29. At the rate that women are outpacing men, there will come a time when men, what women are you referring to? More women than men, but I need to know specifically what group of women are outpacing men. Who are you referring to?
Women in general.
Okay. What percentage of women Oh, you're a black woman, so let's keep it in the black community. What percentage of black women are in science, engineering, technology, and math?
Maybe 5%.
Less than that.
Less than that. Okay.
So how can 5% of anything eclipse what 95% are doing?
I look at it as men had, like, 100 of years to develop, and to become like.
Ma'am, before you give me the monologue, I need the math.
Right. However.
No. Listen, I will let you speak. Before you give me the monologue, I need the math. How can 5% outproduce 95%?
They can't.
Exactly. Right. And if the current population of women is producing at a 5% rate, you would need 18 times more females to just approximate what men are doing. True or false? 5 times 18 is 95. Yes?
True.
Right. 18 times more females, the planet would be what? 18 times more populated? Even if you reduce half the right. The planet can't sustain that population to get to female productivity. Next.
Okay. I'll take that.
Do we agree on the math though?
Yes, I agree on the math. However,
you need 18 times more women.
Correct. However, men have the ability to go to school, educate themselves, and
Excuse me? Men have what? Hold on, be clear. Men have what?
Have had the freedom and the ability to, to become builders and architects. When we women didn't have the
right. And women have not had the freedom to become architects and builders?
Right.
Where?
Well, for the last 50 years, we have had the ability, but we haven't.
You've had it before. Okay, ma'am. Even if I granted the argument. Okay, let me grant the argument.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have it before the past 50 years, which is not true, because there were women who were architects, even attorneys, back in the 40s and 50s. So this whole notion, you need time to catch up. How many years is going to require women to catch up to where men are today?
I mean, the population and society is going to continue after our generation and the generation
after us. How many years do you think it's going to? No, I don't want eventually. I need a number. See how I'm about math. I gave you a number about how many, because you said you're outpacing, and I just showed that's not even close to being true.
Maybe the next decade? No, not decade. Maybe the next century?
The next century. Next 100 years.
Yes.
So society has to wait and invest for another 10 decades just to get women up to the current level of production that men already are.
I mean, well,
is that true? Is that your argument?
Yes, but statistics.
Okay, then let me ask you a question. No. Let me ask you a follow-up question.
Okay.
What are the men doing in that 100 years time?
What they're doing now.
Yes. What are we doing? Are we stagnant?
Well, statistics have shown that more women
are we stagnant?
Some are, yes.
No, men. I didn't say some, men. See, in order for your example to work, men have to be flat. And that's not the case. Men continue to build. We build, so you're 29?
Yes, I'm 29.
Okay. I want you to go back 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Okay.
What was a smartphone?
A smartphone when I was 14, that was the Nokia phone.
Right. They weren't too smart now, were they?
No.
And what was, but now you have a computer in your pocket. You have more computing power in your palm than 20 that put men on the moon.
Correct. But but women have contributed to that. It's not just
doesn't matter if you've contributed. You contribute at a limited rate.
Contribute to it.
You can contribute, ma'am, but ma'am, you don't contribute at the rate of consumption. That's the ultimate problem. You consume more than you contribute. If we have to wait 100 years to get just where men are, that means we are investing 100 years. What are we going to get that's so great and wonderful? If we're already getting it from men now, why do we need to wait 100 years to get it from you then?
Because women, how do I explain this?
Women are what?
All right, so let's use a current event, right? So let's use coronavirus as a current event to show the difference between men and women, right? In countries that are predominantly run by men, have the worst cases of coronavirus.
Ma'am,
in countries that are
what countries are
predominantly run by women,
no, stop right there. I'm not going to, no, don't
under
overtalk me.
control.
Hey, lady, I've told you don't overtalk me. Please don't do that. I don't want to have to mute you. Can you hear me? Jesus H. Christ. Unmute yourself.
I'm sorry.
Don't make me have to mute you. You were going to come in here and say some propaganda about countries that are run by men versus women. What country are you speaking to specifically?
New Zealand.
New Zealand is run by women.
Yeah.
Really? Are you mean that the head of the government is female?
Yep.
But what about the infrastructure?
I mean, it's built by men. You guys have been...
Oh, no. See, does the CEO run a company or does he lead a company?
He leads it.
Right. So New Zealand, and if you want to have this discussion, we can have it loaded for Bear Friday, because in Scandinavia, thank you, Dr. Jordan Peterson, for all your research and work. They are showing the adverse effects of this utilitarian society. So what you're talking about is rank propaganda and BS. You're going to have to bring better than just opinions over here. I'm not a fool. I read. The bottom line is this. Women are not outpacing men today. That's some stuff you like to talk about. It doesn't show in the data. And if it's going to take 100 years to get caught up, that presumes men are doing nothing. We're still moving. Somebody still has to provide between year 99 or year 100 and year 1. 99 years, you run an override. Go ahead. Any point, counter any one of these points.
I mean, my point still stands. Like,
no, your point is wrong.
If we give it society a chance where women have the equal amount of time that men had to make the changes they have, I'm sure we'll see the difference. But
you're
right
sure?
Now,
you're sure? No, you're sure. What? Okay, let me ask you 2 questions.
Okay.
What makes you so sure that women will catch up?
Because we're outpacing men, and
you're not outpacing men.
College degree.
You're okay. Well, college degree. No, ma'am. See, you can't overtalk. No. You're not outpacing men in productive college degrees. You're outpacing men in humanities, not in the things that society runs on: science, engineering, technology, and math. You are not, ma'am. Stop lying. That is simply not true. You are not outpacing men in STEM.
Maybe.
There's no maybe. Bridges are built by engineers, not by bakers. You get sick and break your leg. Do you want a hairstylist or do you want a medical doctor?
A medical doctor.
Then act like a medical doctor matters. In the house you live in, do you live in a home or an apartment or what?
I live in an apartment.
What floor do you live on?
I live on the 3rd floor.
Great. Would you live on the 3rd floor of an apartment building built by a female only?
No, it was built by a man.
And I said, would you?
Yeah.
Would you live would you live in an apartment? What city are you in?
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Go to New York City. Would you live on the 70th floor of a building built by females only?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Is that wrong?
Hey, congratulations, but where are they?
They're not around. Because
they don't do the work, ma'am. They don't do the work, and there's nothing keeping women from doing the work. And see, the second question is, you feel as though you're certain that they're going to catch up because they were outpacing men. That was factually inaccurate. But let's just say that it was factually inaccurate. Let me grant your point and say it's true. Right. Women are outpacing men. I'm going to grant that argument is true, okay? Mm-hmm. What is going to be the greater benefit of having women doing the job 100 years from now that men are already doing right now competently?
I mean, there's no greater benefit.
Thank you. Thank you for proving my point. hate me, despise me, don't like my kitten heels, whatever. Night in, night out, day in, day out. You cannot beat the facts. You cannot beat the argument. You want to make it pejorative, ad hominem, personal, you still cannot beat the work that's being done every French toast day. And gentlemen, that's what they don't like. When you stand confidently on your square and say, you know what? I am broken, I am flawed, I am no different than anybody else, but guess what? I will make something out of my broken pieces. I will make something out of myself that's better than what I came here as. And I will do it standing up straight, looking tall, and accepting the good and the bad. Do you? So, here we go. There is no greater benefit to having women do a job that men are already doing competently. Thank you for at least admitting that part. There is no greater benefit. Men are required, ladies. And if this is the best argument you can make, that women need to be given the right to catch up, but women don't want to do the jobs. When you leave women and men alone, we sort ourselves out nicely. When men and women are left alone, we do what we're supposed to do. Men go into careers like this, women go into careers like that. But when you're trying to socially engineer a society towards gender neutrality and an outcome, human beings will resist. They will resist because there are women who feel more fulfilled going into things that they like, into things like the previous caller, baking. And to say that job is not necessary, is not noble, is foolish. But to say necessary, the things that are necessary are things that keep the infrastructure going. We don't need massage. We don't need hairstylists. We really don't. We don't need nail technicians. We don't need mink lashes, and we don't need a lot of stuff. We don't need. I mean, you can make a case that you don't need personal trainers. If people actually had to do different levels of work, but men would accept that. Men were cool with being a blacksmith, a cobbler, a thatcher. But far too often, women who make these arguments want the job of florist to count the same as the job of engineer. What was she trying to push out there? Women are outpacing men in college. Yes, in college degrees acquired, but they're meaningless. Humanities and things that don't actually outpace you. If so, why are we at a technological disadvantageous point with China? Because they are actually pushing their children into mathematics, science, physics, computers. In my lifetime, China has ascended as a power because of these things. And the West could learn a lot from them. And the point I was making, she was trying to make about the Netherlands. The Netherlands, Scandinavian countries, Jordan Peterson has done incredible debates on this. They are an actual testament to quite the opposite. Why does this infuriate some people so much? Because when you truly believe that you are, I don't think many women believe that they're equal. I think that many of these women who make these arguments really believe they're superior to men. I really believe they think they're superior to men, that we're just dumb. And the only way we have the advantage in the world is because we're stronger than you. And if women had the same physical strength as men, they would do things differently. Friday, we're going to talk about it. The black tax. We're also going to talk about these notions of organizations being run and headed by women, these egalitarian organizations, and what ends up happening? Just like on Bear Grylls, The Island, more likely than not, the women end up destroying the company from within. I'll post it on my community tab and let you read it for yourself. Don't judge. Don't judge me. Judge the facts. Judge the data. And that's where we're at. A data, facts, logic discussion, a driven discussion where we can try to hammer out some of these things that separate the kind of men you say you want and the kind of women that these men need. That's the biggest thing. The kind of men you say you want and the kind of women these men want or need. There's a separation. All right, cool. It's past midnight. Thank you guys for showing up. Friday night show is going to be dope. I'm going to put some stuff on my community tab. I'm also going to be putting up that stuff about the black tax. I think it's a good video to watch. I was in awe of what I did not know. I will also say this too. I need you folks to understand something. If you see my image or my name on something, you need to verify that it's me. There are all kind of people out today talking as if they are me. I'm seeing books with my name on it, my face on it, and people selling stuff. I'm seeing all kind of pages impersonating me. I'm hearing all kind of stuff, people talking. Look, you can't fight all that stuff. You deal with what you deal with. All I'm saying is to the 80% of the folks, the people who are really over here to try to have an actual conversation, not the extremes on any side, just make sure that you are in the right place. Because if you buy something from somebody posing as me, I can't do anything about it. YouTube has my check mark. Instagram should be getting it up pretty soon. But if you want to know what I have to say about anything, this is where you come. You come to my platforms. You don't go to somebody else's platform and hear what they have to say about you. You come watch it live and uncut, unedited. One of the strengths of this platform is when I speak to people in the public, I speak live, unedited. You know what you're getting is authentic. It's not being manipulated. So whether you love it or hate it, you can at least say it's authentic. And we're going to keep on moving. Keep on grooving, because at the end of the day, it's about you. It's about helping you get what you want and helping her get the man that she says she wants, and these people working together. That's how we win. We win by coming to the table with our disagreements in good faith, hashing them out. Because why the world has evolved the way it is through cooperation, not dissent. You don't need one person to do everything. You need everybody working together towards a common goal. We get there together, not by ourselves. That was dope. Thank you, guys. I got to grab me something to eat. I'm hungry. Next week, I'm fluting out to Texas. I'll be in Dallas, then Houston. More on the horizon coming soon. But like always, until the next time, peace. We are gone.
It burns! Oh, it burns!
I rebuke.
I rebuke it. Shout out to Big Shirley. Shout out to all the PhDs.
I'm a PhD.
I'm still waiting for the perfect PhD song to come through. I'm a PhD. Shout out to all the dog moms. All that folks in the danger zone.
Danger zone!
Big Shirley.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, and lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chickens, turkeys, rabbits.
Hey, hey, hey. You know what they say when they see you coming?
Kevin, God damn it.
It's not a problem, no. 'Cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes. Yeah. Nothing can stop me. Meow, 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 meow.
Somebody said Kevin not selling t-shirts. Right. I'm not. He's a scam. He's a scam. I ain't selling t-shirts. No shade. I ain't selling anything. I am writing a book though. Thanks, Michelle. I dance like an old man. I ain't trying to bust a sweat, mess up my LeBron hairline everybody's laughing about. I'm 51 years old. I'm supposed to be losing my hair, but I make this shit look good. You can't talk shit about me. I know I ain't shit. But I do the best I can with what my old ass got. Hey! You're gonna have to go a long way to make that work. Oh! Deuces! We are